Chapter 1. The arrest heard around the world. It wasn't just a raid. It was a spectacle, coordinated, loud, and timed for maximum media exposure. On December 29, 2022, Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were arrested by Romanian authorities in a move that shocked millions. The charges? Human trafficking, rape, organized crime. But for Tate's die-hard followers, this wasn't just law enforcement, it was war. Tate had been poking the bear for years, calling out governments, slamming the matrix, and building a following of men who saw him as the antidote to modern weakness. And suddenly, the man who seemed untouchable was in handcuffs. The optics were perfect. Black SUVs, tactical gear, news crews. A man once called the Top G being led away under flashing lights. But here's what most people don't know. The investigation wasn't new. It had started months earlier, quietly. A tip from the US. Embassy had triggered surveillance, monitoring, and digital tracking. While Tate was filming motivational clips in his mansion, the Romanian authorities were quietly building a case. Phone taps, hidden cams, testimonies. The moment they had enough, they struck. For his fans, the arrest only validated his message. They're scared of him, people said. He's telling the truth. For his critics, it was proof that everything they feared about his influence might have been real all along. But one question kept coming up over and over again. Why now? Tate had been loud for years. Why wait until he had millions of followers to suddenly take him down? Was this really about justice? Or was it about shutting down a voice that had gotten too powerful? Behind the headlines, whispers began to spread. Some claimed he had crossed the wrong billionaire. Others said he was exposing too much about how power really works. And then there were those who believed it was all just a show, another media circus to keep the internet distracted. In his first message from detention, Tate posted this: "The Matrix has attacked me, but I remain free in my mind." That quote would be plastered across TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram within hours. It wasn't just a statement, it was a call to arms. Meanwhile, law enforcement doubled down. They raided multiple properties, seized luxury cars, froze bank accounts. Yet no formal charges had been filed for weeks, and that only made the conspiracy theories grow stronger. People weren't just watching the story, they were living in it, picking sides, debating endlessly online, sharing theories, making content. Tate had become more than a man. He was now a symbol of rebellion, of corruption, of masculinity, or of misogyny, depending on who you asked. And as the media painted him as a criminal, his fans declared him a martyr. But what if both sides were only seeing part of the picture? Because while everyone was screaming about guilt or innocence, something far more dangerous was slipping through the cracks, the way the system decides who gets to rise and who must be ruined. Chapter 2. Inside the Matrix, Andrew Tate's rise to dangerous influence. Before the arrest, before the Bugatti memes, before the whole world knew his name, Andrew Tate was just a kickboxer with a loud mouth and a webcam business. A nobody to most people. But he had a gift. He knew how to hack attention. He didn't just want to get rich. He wanted to be unignorable. The transformation was methodical. First, he studied the internet like a battlefield, figuring out what got views, what triggered emotions, and what made people argue. Then he started dropping explosive clips, raw, polarizing, and blunt. He spoke in absolutes, no filters, no sugarcoating, just confidence wrapped in chaos, and the algorithm ate it up. But here's where it got strategic. Tate didn't just rely on his own channels. He built a literal army of followers inside Hustlers University who were trained to clip his videos, repost them, and flood the internet. It was a digital wildfire. One day, nobody knew who he was. A week later, he was everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, WhatsApp forwards. Even Facebook aunties were quoting Top G. His message was simple, but powerful to a certain group of men. The system is lying to you. Be strong, get rich, escape the matrix. To some, it was toxic. To others, it was freedom. But the more he spoke, the more the line between self-help and shock value began to blur. He said things that made headlines. Depression isn't real. Women belong to men. If you're poor, it's your fault. Every sentence felt like a grenade thrown at the internet, and people either applauded or reported him. But no matter what side they were on, they watched. The Tate brand was now bigger than Tate himself. But behind the flashy quotes and cigars, there was a darker question people didn't ask enough. What exactly was Hustlers University teaching? And more importantly, where was all that money going? Authorities started looking into it. Rumors started flying. Was it a pyramid scheme? Was he running adult campsites as a front for something else? Were the women involved there willingly? Or was it manipulation? At the same time, major platforms began to panic. Activist groups were sounding the alarm. TikTok banned him. Instagram deleted him. YouTube demonetized him. But by then, it was already too late. He'd gone global. Tate didn't need the platforms anymore. His followers became the platform. Millions of young men across the world were now echoing his message, talking like him, dressing like him, fighting their teachers in school because Top G said you're a slave. Governments noticed, parent groups complained, and somewhere inside Romania, an investigation was quietly opened. It wasn't about the videos anymore. It was about the movement, and movements that grow too fast always make the system nervous. Truth bomb. Tate once said, "If you say something enough times, people will believe it." That's not just a quote, it's a tactic. It's how modern influence works. Say it loud, say it often, and let the internet do the rest. Chapter 3, The Women, the Mansion, and the Secrets They Told. The mansion in Voluntary wasn't just a flex. It was the nerve center of Andrew Tate's empire. Behind the walls of luxury cars, private security, and cigar smoke, there were whispers. Whispers that eventually grew into full-blown accusations. When Romanian police raided the property in late 2022, they didn't just find cash and watches. They found women, young, foreign, and involved in what they described as Tate's webcam business. That's when things turned from influencer drama to something far more serious. Two of the women told authorities they were held against their will, that they were lured in with promises of romance, money, or fame. That once inside the mansion, they were controlled, mentally, emotionally, and financially. The method, they said, was subtle. It wasn't chains or physical force. It was manipulation, psychological tactics, love bombing followed by isolation, then pressure, then shame. Tate, they claimed, used the lover boy method. Charm them, date them, then gradually convince them to work in his adult webcam business. A business he openly admitted running in past interviews. He bragged about it. He even described the strategy on camera. You start as the boyfriend and then you say, "If you love me, you'll help me make money." You teach them how to seduce on camera. You take the money. You control the accounts. These weren't deep fakes, he said it, repeatedly, publicly, like it was normal. And that's when the takedown started to look less like censorship and more like justice. Because while millions were reposting his videos, the women inside the mansion were allegedly experiencing something else: pressure, confusion, and fear. One woman testified that her passport was taken. Another said she was tracked by cameras and wasn't allowed to leave freely. There were screenshots, messages, audio files. The case wasn't built overnight. It had been cooking in silence for months. And while Tate's legal team called it all lies, claiming the women were bitter or manipulated by outside forces, the damage was already done. The internet had already picked a side. Meanwhile, a new kind of content started popping up. Former workers, ex-girlfriends, and ex-cam models speaking out. Some defended Tate, saying he was generous and fair. Others painted a picture of a manipulative man obsessed with control. It became hard to tell who was telling the truth and who was chasing fame. But one thing was clear. Tate's inner circle wasn't as loyal as it once seemed. His brother Tristan, usually calm and charismatic, also became a focus. What was his role? Was he the manager, the enforcer, or just caught in the storm? As the days passed, the Romanian court extended their detainment again. and again, and again. Every time Tate tried to post online, it was from inside a cell. Gone were the luxurious backdrops, the sharp suits, and the alpha body language. Now it was cropped photos, vague statements, and shadowy silence. But the internet doesn't sleep. In YouTube comment sections, on Reddit threads, and in TikTok live streams, people began to wonder if this was the fall of an empire, or just the beginning of a bigger war. Because what if Tate was guilty of everything the women claimed? But what if he wasn't? Insight. In any power dynamic, truth gets twisted, especially when fame, money, and sex are involved. And when a man builds his empire on controlling narratives, the moment he loses control, it all comes crashing down. Chapter 4. The System Strikes Back. Censorship, Control, and the Global Divide. The moment Andrew Tate got arrested, the world split in two. On one side, millions of young men, especially from struggling communities, chanting his name like a war cry. On the other side, governments, feminists, media outlets, and institutions calling him dangerous, manipulative, even criminal. The real shock wasn't just that Tate was arrested, it was the reaction. TikTok feeds flooded with free Top G videos. Boys in classrooms were quoting his lines. Gym bros in every country were asking, is this really about trafficking? Or are they just scared of what he represents? Because Tate didn't just sell masculinity, he sold rebellion. He told men the world was lying to them, that school was a scam, that governments were run by cowards, that the media was fake. And then just like that, the media turned on him. First, YouTube demonetized him. Then they banned him. TikTok removed hundreds of thousands of Tate-related videos. Instagram and Facebook, gone. Even banks allegedly froze his accounts. Like dominoes falling in perfect timing. To his followers, this wasn't justice. It was proof. See? He was right. They're trying to erase him. This wasn't just about Tate anymore. This was about power, control, who gets to speak, and who gets silenced. But let's get real for a second. The question wasn't just, did he do it? The bigger question was this: how much truth are you allowed to speak before you get erased? Tate said he was teaching men how to win. Critics said he was teaching them how to hurt. The truth? It's messy. Sure, some of his advice was solid. Wake up early, go to the gym, don't be lazy, build wealth. No argument there. But then he'd mix it with statements like, a woman's value is based on her body count. Men can cheat, women can't. If she gets raped, she should bear responsibility. That's where the line blurred. And when lines blur, the internet eats it up. Outrage, attention, jar power, fear, and fear. That's when systems react. YouTube didn't ban Tate because of one quote. They banned him because he became a symbol, not just of masculinity, but of unchecked masculinity. Unfiltered, unregulated, unapologetic, and in 2023's hypersensitive world, that was too dangerous to leave online. Still, the censorship did something strange. It made him more famous. People started uploading his clips with captions like, "This video will get deleted soon, watch before it's gone." That scarcity made it viral. Reverse psychology 101. Then came the copycats. Mini Tates, clone influencers. Guys rebranding the same messages under men's self-improvement, alpha mindset, red pill awareness. It was no longer one man. It was a movement. And you can ban a person, but you can't ban a belief system. Power doesn't just silence what it fears. It tries to rewrite the narrative. But the more you censor something, the more people start to look for it. And in Tate's case, the system might have accidentally created the very legend it wanted to destroy. In the digital age, success is often a double-edged sword. The rise of Andrew Tate serves as a poignant case study, showcasing the allure of power and the perils that accompany it. Initially, Tate captured the attention of a disenchanted generation, delivering messages that resonated with feelings of inadequacy and discontent. His promise of wealth and strength became a rallying cry for many who felt marginalized and void of direction. However, this story is not merely one of triumph. It is a cautionary tale highlighting the fragility of such a rise. As Tate amassed followers and built an empire, he did so on the foundations of provocation and controversy. His loud persona and extravagant lifestyle fueled his ascent. Yet they also laid the groundwork for his downfall. The same voice that drew in armies of supporters became an undeniable, unforgiving spotlight. The very elements that he believed set him apart, his bravado and his rejection of societal norms, were weaponized against him. From allegations regarding his business practices to contentious interactions, the narrative shifted from admiration to scrutiny, turning adulation into a whirlwind of allegations and legal troubles. Even as he navigates life post-empire, now defined by court cases and public skepticism, the lesson remains stark. The digital landscape is inherently transient, mercurial in its affections. What once earned applause can swiftly devolve into ridicule. This is the crux of the warning behind Tate's journey. The internet's capricious nature does not nurture idols. It demands authenticity and accountability. Each proclamation and public persona could either build a legacy or lead to a descent into chaos. Ultimately, Tate's story encapsulates a vital truth about power. Without deep-rooted ethics, ambitions can turn into vulnerabilities, revealing that the rise is often coupled with the inevitability of a fall.